Guys, what is going on? This time we're kind of doing the same thing we did a month ago.
Welcome to Marsh Built, motherfucker.
As you can see behind me, we have the 8th gen in the shop. Well, like I said, we're doing the same thing again, but we're adding more to it. So it's not the same thing. Why this is in the shop today? Obviously, I've been daily driving the truck, but that started leaking oil. And the other day we had a very cold morning of like 6 degrees. And when I cold started it, it was leaking diesel, but now it's not leaking diesel. So I'm really not trying to drive that anymore every day until I can run through it. I have to do a lot on that truck. I have to do brakes all around, valve cover gaskets, glow plugs, injectors, the oil leaks. It needs a whole overhaul. So I'm really trying to stop driving that. So because of that whole leaking issue, I started driving this every day. If you remember in the video that I did of changing the oil pan, I showed you guys that this motor mount was broken. And as you can see, that is very, very broken. So because of that, and I'm on 50K springs, every time I would hit a bump, the motor would move. And I guess I hit a bump one time. You can even see from here that the motor's slanted down that way. Same exact thing as last time, right up the front. You can even see, look at how low it's dropped from when I showed you guys when I changed the oil pan. So on the list of things to get done today to the Accord. Obviously, first we gotta start with changing that motor mount. So this is what the motor mount looks like. This cover normally will sit on top of it, like this. And then I keep breaking it right under this bolt hole, right here. Literally snaps clean in half, right here. Boom. Wow. Okay. But as you can see, there's only, you see where the poly stops, and then there's all this dead space. Look at how much this moves. Yeah, that's not okay. I was looking into getting solid mounts for the car, and they used to make them, Innovative used to make them, but they're now discontinued. So I am gonna email them and see if it's possible that we could get like one set made, so that way I can stop having this issue. But for today, we're gonna fix that problem. We're gonna fix that problem with filling that dead space with some polyurethane. They say that this is their strongest formula, and it turns 100% solid. So we're gonna see. This whole cavity in here is gonna get filled with polyurethane, and essentially that should make this not move like this, which is what we want. Then to top it off, we're gonna be doing shortened spindles, because since I put the car together, my uppers have been smacking the towers non-stop. And I really didn't wanna do shortened spindles because I'm gonna do camber on this, and obviously I don't wanna mod it twice. Then I thought about it, wait, I'm Marsh, I make the parts. I can double work my own parts. For you guys, I don't double work parts, but for myself, I can do whatever I want. Because why? That's better for you guys, because then it shows what my parts are actually capable of. On my 7th gen, none of my parts are plated. All of your parts get plated and all that extra support. My parts don't get that. I just weld them, throw them on the car. That's it. And that's exactly what I'm gonna do with the shortened spindles. And then to top it all off, we are gonna be raising the subframe. Obviously, with the height that it's at, my subframe is about this high off the ground. You can see from how beat up it is, even this little metal ring that is ready to fall off. This subframe takes a pretty good beating. So we're gonna raise this so that way we get subframe clearance, we get more oil pan clearance. So let's get right into it. That polyurethane takes a little bit to set up, so let's get that filled first. And then I gotta throw all this garbage out. All this garbage you see is just from this 1 week, okay? So let's get this mount filled. Get this filled. Once we get this filled, we'll clean all this up, get the top of the box organized, and let's get to work. It is 11:30. I'm trying to get out of here by like 7 o'clock. Not the prettiest thing in the world, but that's a filled mount. Now, all of that, this is my favorite part of the videos. This is my favorite part. I do this almost every video now because there's always a mess to clean up. So let's do this. Ready, and 1, 2, 3. Just like that. Easy. Easy. One more thing that we're doing to the car. Like I said earlier, this is on 50Ks all around. I got 5-inch Swift 50Ks in the front. And then I got, I believe these are 5-inch 326 in the rear. These may be 6-inch 326. Not really sure, but I have 326 50S in the rear. It's a little too stiff. With no camber, it's just a little too stiff. I put the baby and the wifey in the car, so I don't know. Baby be getting tossed around back there. I'd be feeling bad. So we're switching to Swift 34Ks. It is 65 degrees on December 29th. Now, mind you, 5 days ago or 6 days ago, earlier this week, like I said, it was 6 degrees. Okay? Now it is 65. What's going on? I don't really know, but guess what? These bay doors are gonna be open today. Let's get to work. You already know, get the spindle off. 36, 12, 10, 17, 19, 21. And that should be it. Oh, and then the 17s to get the caliper up. Take these spindles out and let's get these modified real quick so that way we can keep things moving. All right, so we got the spindles out. I didn't remember that one had a dust shield and one didn't, so I'm gonna cut this dust shield off to match the spindles, and then these are gonna get cut up here. I'll show you guys the markings once I get those marked, but I need to wash my hands. Yeah. I grabbed this soap from Harbor Freight for $1.50. This tub right here is $1.50 at Harbor Freight, okay? I'm gonna wash my hands one time and I'm gonna show you what this soap does for $1.50, okay? I like finding good products, and if I can get good products for cheap, I wanna show you the good products. Just like the crayon wax hack that I showed you for getting rusted bolts out, okay? Let me show you. One wash, real quick. I didn't even dry my hands, okay? You put it on dry. All right, it says do not use wet hands first, all right? You take a little bit of this, put it in your hands, rub it, add a drop of water, and that's it. $1.50, guys, $1.50. Sometimes I'll pay $10 for a giant tub of something and it won't work. My hands were black. You're welcome. But back to what we were talking about. Okay, 1-inch shortened spindles. Shortened comes from up here, shortened and tilted comes from down here. Because obviously if you try to tilt from up here, you're not redoing the whole geometry, and well, it won't be effective camber. You can add up to 3 degrees up here. I don't do more than 3 degrees from the top. But yeah, shorten from the top, extend it from the bottom. That's why I'm going to be able to redo mine twice. But that's also why I don't like reworking spindles twice. Because if you do shortened up here, it's already modified. And then if you want to tilt it, you have to do it from down here. So now you have 2 weak points in the segment of a spindle. But I'm going to end up doing it because I can do that. Going to quickly kind of roll through this. This is gonna go by very fast, but I'm gonna do one at a time so that way I can keep it at stock measurement because I'm not adding camber. I just wanna shorten them, no added camber. Cut, bevel, fixate, tack, preheat, fully weld, and yeah, repeat that to that side, and shorten spindles. And that is 2 hot off the press spindles. While those cool, on to the next part. Step number 2 of this process, we need the bumper off because we need to be able to get to the front area to do the raised subframe. But first, I need to get this exhaust off because my cat is clogged and the car came with a catless downpipe, but I was working on a right-hand drive, 8th gen at that time, and we had to change his O2 sensors and the top one ended stripping out. So whatever, I ended up selling it to him. So my cat is still clogged, and when I'm at highway speeds, this car goes absolutely nowhere. I do believe to get access to raising the subframe here, I need to drop the exhaust anyways, so it kind of works out. Super simple, 2 12s, hanger, hanger, and that's literally it. My exhaust only goes to right before the gas tank. Well, that's one way to take care of a gutted cat. Now we can start on the process of raising this subframe. So first what I'm gonna do is take out these side brackets. So it's just 14s. These may honestly even be 12s, but 2 on this side, 2 on this side, and then there's 1 bolt that goes up this way. We're gonna take this out because we have to modify this as part of the raising process. Next, you're gonna take off this support plate. So you're gonna start by taking off these 2 17s here. And then I'm gonna do this 1 corner at a time so that way the whole subframe doesn't go falling altogether. So we'll start on this side, 17 and another 17. All right, so I lied. I did say that I was only gonna drop this one side, but for me to show you why we do it this way, I had to drop this side. So this bolt here is spinning inside. The welded nut inside the frame must have broken loose and it's just spinning. So this bracket I was able to just twist out of the way, but this side I was able to fully take off, which I'm gonna actually clean this before I put it back in. This rubber piece, as you can tell by how much fluid is on there, sits on top of that sleeve there. So all we're gonna do is take a Sawzall and cut flush with the subframe and take that little nub out. And that way the subframe will bolt all the way up to the car itself. And that is 3/4 of an inch tall. So this will actually raise your subframe 3/4 of an inch. The 7th gen is done the exact same way. So that's the only reason why I know how to do it this way. Do that to all 4 corners. 1, 2, 3, and then 4. And then obviously you can see why the exhaust had to come out, because in order to get the Sawzall in here, the exhaust can't be here. And then for these, all I do is I just slot this up the rest of the way to here, and that's your subframe raise. And then just got to do that 4 more times. And then it's the same exact thing for the back. You take out the 17s. I had actually bent this plate from reversing and catching a manhole cover, and then I was driving forward. And then yeah, pretty much, yeah. So this I gotta cut off, but then with how these are shaped, these don't bend. So you actually have to cut the ear off for the side extension piece and just use just the circle as your subframe mount. I leave these at their stock position so that way it can at least dip. I have a feeling if you tighten this all the way, it's not gonna dip down in order for you to cut back here. I kind of make it look easy because I'm on a lift. If you were to do this on the floor, I can see this being a lot harder because you don't have that much space. So my best advice for you, if you are doing this on the ground, is just get the car as high as possible or just drop the subframe itself. I chose to not drop the subframe because obviously I have all this space to work under it and do it. But we're just gonna get the sawzall up in here, shoom, shoom, and then we can bolt back up and we will have a subframe raise done. Just like that. Look at that. 1, 2. Now we can just cut those brackets and that's a raised subframe. I should have did this when I first put the car together and I was doing all the spindles and when I was doing all the ball joints and the hubs and everything like that. I should have did this because look at this. Look at where the subframe is in relation to the frame rails. I can fully sit these frame rails on the ground now, and this subframe won't even come remotely close to touching it. Just look at it, frame rail, subframe. All right, so these I ended up keeping stock and it kind of actually re-bent it back into place because these were bent to begin with. But as you see, now it's all the way up against it. Now that I got the shortened subframe done, we can start painting these all up. Wire brushed them all nice. Let's get these painted. As you can tell, you see what color these get painted. It is currently 3 o'clock. So in 3.5 hours, we got shortened spindles made, we got a cat gutted, and we got shortened subframe done. Now we're gonna get the rear struts out to get those springs swapped out. 5-inch 50s to 5-inch 34s. Well, I guess these are 5. I know these are 5, so maybe like 4.75. I don't really know, but I shouldn't have to change the height because it's a 34K and that should compress to the same height as a 50K, and 50K shouldn't really compress. So we'll see. Swap it out real quick, throw them back in. This took me all about 5 minutes. 20 minutes later, wheels back on, 34K springs are in. What else do I have left to do? I can work on getting that motor mount out. I also did notice that the front bolt that goes like through the motor mount into the actual motor right there. Yeah, there's supposed to be a bolt right there at the end. And as you see, there's no bolt. So I'm gonna get a bolt put back in that because that may be the reason why my motor mount may have been breaking. I'm not gonna be able to put this new one in until tomorrow morning because this thing is still soaking wet. So yeah, that's still soft. So there's no way that I can put that in until it's fully hardened because then what was the purpose of me doing that if I wasn't gonna let it harden first? Okay, well let me tell you, that took a lot longer than I expected it to. We had to completely disconnect the mount, raise the motor. I had to change the bolts because I put a 1/2-inch motor raise on it, but we do in fact have a bolt back on there. We may have to raise that mount, I'm not really sure. due to the subframe being raised, technically that's already raising the mount, and then I raised that mount even more. I'm most likely gonna end up having to raise that one. This is the easiest mount to get to. The rest of them, not so much fun. Now, clean off the oil pan with brake cleaner and then get to JB welding. Crack right there. I don't even know if the camera can pick it up, but if you never mixed JB weld before, it comes with a mixing tray and everything. So I'm gonna actually end up using two different styles. I'm gonna use the high heat, and that's gonna be my first layer, because obviously the oil pan gets stupid hot. And then I'm gonna coat on top of it with the steel reinforced epoxy, just to give it some strength on top of it. It's probably gonna end up cracking again anyways. Like I said, it comes with its own mixing tray. You twist this off, push the tube into here, it has its own stick, you mix it, you apply it with the stick, you let it dry. This one cures in an hour with heat. Let me mix this up and I will show you what it looks like after I get the first coat on. Wow, what a nice job. I even covered over here, just a thin coating just to cover wherever it's scraped. I think there was a very tiny crack right here, not really sure, but obviously we knew the big crack was here. So that's why most of it is there. But now that's gotta sit. Those spindles should be dry. Yeah, throw the spindles in and I guess pretty much get ready with everything else. All right, guys, spindles are all on. Cotter pins and everything. Everything's tightened, axles punched, calipers tightened, everything's back together. I test fitted the mount. It's still not dry, but I test fitted it with an inch worth of spacers, and yeah, well, that didn't work. It's gonna end up needing 1.5 inches. I still have another 25 minutes before I can even think about putting another coat of JB Weld on the oil pan, so I guess for the meantime, I will mess with this and see if we can get this raised even a 1/2 inch, you know, just a little bit higher. Anything's better than what it is, so let's get to it. I'll let you know what we do. Okay, this is a little crazy, but it all adds up to what I need it to do. All right, so there's a little contour line here. This is gonna get shaved back to there. That's a 1/4 inch. This top piece is gonna get flattened down to where this ridge is. That's another 3/8 of an inch. That's a 1/4 inch. So in between the three of these, it'll be a little bit more than 3/4 of an inch, which is how much the subframe is raised. So with this, it should be level. All right, this one got a little bit confusing, but we got it all together. And kind of quickly, actually. This bottom mount, we shaved the bottom of it, which was the 3/8. Then I shaved the bottom of this one, which is a 1/4. And then I just made it flat. I didn't take out the whole chunk out of the top, which would have been a 1/4 inch. I did more of like 1/8 of an inch. So 3/8 and 1/8 is 1/2 inch, plus a 1/4 inch is 3/4. And then I put just a little under 1/2 inch here. So this is about 1.25 inches, which matches up to what we have, because 3/4 from subframe, 1/2 inch from there makes 1.25 inches. So then that makes sense that that's 1.25 inches. And then this one should be 1.25 inches. And the motor is now level again. When you're doing motor raises, you kind of have to loosen every single bolt to the mount and just leave things maybe 1 or 2 threads in, so that way you have play with the mount. And then once you have every single bolt partially started, then you can work your way from the bottom up. This bottom mount, obviously you can bolt straight in, but these 3 and these 4, you need to leave loose, so that way you can play with it and get it to where you need it to before you fully tighten everything down. It is now 6:30, and as you can tell by the fingerprint that's there, this is not dry yet. Yeah, that's literally about all that I can do until tomorrow. I used the torch to completely dry this so that way I could get the steel reinforced on. Exhaust is on, spindles are on. Obviously, this mount can't go on until tomorrow because this is still squishy, so that's got to dry. I need to get these bolts from my house. Well, I need to bring my bucket of bolts from my house because that's where this bolt is. Guys, good morning. It's the next day. The mount is dry. I got my bolts and we are ready to go. It still seems to be a little bit soft, but it's solid. Look at. Before I could just easily move this. Now I gotta like actually put some force to even get a little bit of something out of this. So that worked. That did amazing. And we also did get the longer bolts. These were the stock ones, and these are what's getting put in. Yeah, big difference. So this mount's gonna be 1.25 inches raised. Front one is 1/2 inch. This one is 1/2 inch. And then we're getting another 3/4 from here as well. So 1.25 inches, 1.25 inches, 1/2 inch, nothing. The only bolts that changed were these front ones that got changed to these longer ones. This is the OEM one. Most of your mounts aren't gonna line up when you do a motor raise most of the time. So what I do is I just leave everything loose and I just slowly just start to tighten everything and it'll pull everything together. And if you do pull it together and it starts to bind, like let's say for instance here, I'll loosen it up till it's not binding anymore, and then you can apply some type of leverage this way, or you may have to just play with it a little bit, but for the most part, this is how I do it. Just leave everything loose and then draw it together little by little. So I'm gonna start here, pulling this together, and then once this is together, I'll tighten the 2/17s, and then that's it. Just wanted to come under here and check out clearances. And as you can see, these are beautiful clearances. So right there, we got frame rail, and then we got subframe next, and then we got oil pan all the way up here. So from the frame rail to the oil pan at this point, that's about a good 2-inch difference. This oil pan is about even with this jack point. I'm now gonna sit frame rails on the ground. I'm ordering a fuel cell, and we're making this the most reliable daily static car you can imagine. Tilt, just dumped, and all reliable. All right, we are all good. No leaks, no nothing. Everything's going good, so we can just put the wheels back on this thing and work on getting this out. With these lifts being rear mount, it really makes it a pain to get cars on and off, but I'll show you. Let me get the wheels on and we'll start the process. All right, this is it. 2x4, jack under the back, jack it up as high as you can go, and those should both swing under. Let's see how it goes. Gave it a nice little wash, but yeah, we got to change this height because the car is nosediving. And look at this subframe clearance now. That's absolutely insane. I can almost put my whole fist under it. I'm thinking a 1/2 inch in the front and like 3/4 in the rear. Cause this looks good, but it can be just a little bit better. Oh yeah. This is it now. No more wheel gap. Beautiful. Beautiful. And then look at this subframe clearance. Look at that. That's at least 1 inch of subframe clearance. Yeah, this is it. This looks really good. No more tire gap. Lips fully on the ground. I just need some side skirts, a rear lip, headlight, grille, fenders, mirror caps. There's a lot that I need. But for a daily driver, it's not too bad. Alright, let's see how it drives. Already, just off that one little bump, I can tell it's so much better. Because any little bump, this thing used to just conk, conk. Yeah, this is so much more comfortable. Oh my gosh. Even just that little bump there. Yeah. I can now put the baby back in the car and it is not going to toss us around. When those uppers were smacking, you would just get tossed. You wouldn't even feel the 50Ks. And now that we put the 34s in the back, this thing rolls and hits bumps so nicely now. And we went lower, so this is good. This is good. This is a whole new car, honestly. Absolutely whole new car. And that is it for this one. I hope you guys absolutely enjoyed this one. We gave out a bunch of free knowledge. I should have done this when I first put the car together the first time. That subframe being above the frame rails kind of just opens up a whole new world of how low you can go. On top of the motor raise, on top of that, now I shouldn't have a single issue. And then also with the shortened spindles as well. Shortened spindles, honestly, I really should have done. The subframe I probably could have waited on. I could have just did a motor raise. But since I was already in there, we might as well just correct everything. New motor mount, shortened spindles, raised subframe, 34K springs in the rear versus the 50Ks. And the gutted cat. Come on, come on, come on. All in one day. All in one day. Obviously, the mount I had to put in this morning, but that took all of 10 minutes. If you were doing it on the ground, I could see it getting done in 2. But obviously, I make my own spindles, so that can obviously change timeline and everything. But this is a very, very... It wasn't hard. It wasn't hard, as you can see. I hope I showed you guys enough. If not, let me know so that way I know to pick up the camera a little bit more or show different angles or whatever. I'm trying to give you guys as much knowledge as possible or just show you what really just goes into my cars, really. A lot of people always ask me just how I got what I got, and just documenting it makes it better, because then when I do explain to people what I did, they don't really understand and everything like that. So you seeing it kind of helps better understand everything. Like, comment, subscribe. The Lexus, we'll figure it out. The next thing I'm ordering for the 8th gen, like I said, is a fuel cell because I want to make this the most reliable and lowest straight-wheeled daily possible, okay? And then I'll start working on all the appearance stuff, side skirts, fenders, mirror cap, headlight, you know, that stuff. But I want to get the suspension and everything really dialed in and get the car running how I want it to before I start putting money in other things. But with that being said, y'all should know what time it is. Sometimes you're gonna have to make sacrifices to get yourself closer or even to where you want to be in life. Whether that means selling things, whether that means putting something on the back burner, whether that means cutting time from your family, whatever the case may be. If there's something out there that you want, at that point, all means necessary has to happen for you to get there. Because if not, either you're probably going to lose the motivation to get it or you're going to lose the want to get it. So if there's something that you truly want, anything is possible. Just get a plan together and it will all fall into place and things will happen. I'll catch you on the next one. I hope y'all enjoyed. Peace.
Can I call you Rose?